everyone, I'm Julian Chikatu, and LTE watches are few and far between these days. That is, if you're looking for a watch running Google's Wear OS platform. At the moment, you have to go to Samsung and Apple to find a really good cellular smartwatch. Until now, Mobvoi is releasing a 4G LTE version of its TicWatch Pro, and that means it's the most feature-packed Wear OS smartwatch to date. Here's what it's like. The TicWatch Pro 4G is very similar to last year's TicWatch Pro. There are just some slight differences, and I think they make it look a little bit better. First off, the bezel around the screen has a little bit of a texture to it now, and the same is true with the sides of the buttons on the sides of the watch, and that just adds some visual flair. It also is only available in black, whereas there was another color option last year, and it's also, more importantly, 11 grams lighter, which really helps with wearability. It's still bulky, large, and masculine though, and I do wish they took that gear to slim it down, or maybe even have a smaller version for people with smaller wrists. Even on my wrist, it looks pretty large. It's still comfortable to wear though, and the reduction in weight helps with that, and so does the 22mm strap. It's a silicone strap, and it's soft to the touch, though it does tend to attract a lot of dust and lint. It's interchangeable, so if you don't want to wear this strap and change up the look to leather or something else, you can. I don't hate the design, but I don't feel particularly strong about it either. It's not like the Skagen Falster 2, where I felt happy it was on my wrist. Here I don't feel anything except for the buzz on my wrist when I get a notification. It's clear that Mobvoi is going for function over form, and that's fine if it means 2-day battery life, which I'll get to in a bit. What I do hate though is the pre-installed watch faces available for the watch. I'm using a Google Fit one because that's about the only one I really like. The rest of Mobvoi's own pre-installed ones are pretty ugly in my opinion, but thankfully you can hunt through the Google Play Store to find something you really like. What sets the TicWatch Pro apart, what really is a feature that I think more smartwatch manufacturers should adopt, is the fact that there is a dual layer display. Now, this isn't the first time we've seen this. The previous TicWatch Pro had this and headlined this feature, but it's back here on the TicWatch Pro 4G LTE. Essentially, you're getting a 1.39-inch screen, a 400 by 400 resolution, and that's with the OLED screen on the bottom. When you're interacting with the operating system, that's the main display. When you switch to ambient mode, it switches to a hold on, I gotta look this up. It's called a film-compensated super twisted pneumatic display, and it's an LCD screen, and that's what's on top. And that will give you a digital-looking clock that will give you the date, time, step count, and battery life. The OLED panel is big, colorful, has deep blacks, it's high-res, and it's pretty easy to read outside. The LCD panel as well is easy to read in sunny conditions. But the big benefit to this dual layer technology is having much better battery life. Typical smartwatches just have an OLED panel, and they use that for always on display so that it always presents you with the time no matter what you're doing, and that is a huge drain on battery life. The LCD panel here sips up a lot less energy, so that's how it's able to give you significantly better battery life. I use the phone to check notifications, respond to notifications, control music playback, and even use Google Assistant a bit, and I ended the day frequently with around 50% left by 9 p.m. That's pretty impressive. And I could easily extend that to a second day and have 2 days of full usage. Now, if you throw in a workout, you're gonna limit yourself to about a full day of use, maybe a little more. But this is easily one of the longer lasting Wear OS watches available to date. Even better, there is a unique feature called Essential Mode, and essentially, it turns off the OLED panel and turns off Wear OS, so you can only access the LCD panel, which only gives you, again, the date, time, step count, and battery life. And that will extend your battery life to 30 days, which again is super impressive. But keep in mind that that also depends on when you turn that mode on. So if you turn that mode on and you only had like 10% left, then you're probably not going to get 30 days out of it. But the ability to not walk around with a dead smartwatch, that is definitely a positive thing. But a 4G LTE connection will likely drain the battery life more. I haven't been able to test it yet because Mobvoi has had some trouble setting up that connectivity. And actually, you're not going to be able to connect to LTE until a full month after this product goes on sale, so after August 10th. And also keep in mind, you can only use the LTE connection on Verizon if you're a Verizon subscriber. So if you're planning on buying this watch for the 4G LTE connectivity, well, you need to be on Verizon, though down the road I could see Mobvoi opening it up to different carriers. We just don't know when that will happen or if that will happen. What will 4G connectivity enable? Well, you can make phone calls from the watch, you can listen to the phone calls straight from the watch's speaker, you can stream music, and in general you can leave the phone at home and go for that run because all the texts, phone calls, app notifications will all be sent straight to the watch. The TicWatch Pro runs Wear OS by Google, and that just means you can access notifications, talk to Google Assistant, and using it is just not that difficult. The latest update adds tiles, which makes data more glanceable. Performance is surprisingly decent considering this watch is running the aging Qualcomm Snapdragon Wear 2100 processor. I think the culprit is the bump up in RAM. Last year's TicWatch Pro only had 512 megabytes of RAM, now there's a gigabyte, and things definitely feel a lot smoother. Now you will experience performance fluctuations and stutters, particularly when you're doing things like downloading apps, setting up the watch for the first time, or in general accessing Google Assistant, which is very, very slow. So there are two buttons here, and the top one can be used to turn on the display and also accesses the app drawer. You can use it as the back button to go back to the home screen or go back in multiple menus. The bottom button is customizable. I've set it to turn on the essential mode, but you can also use it for anything you like, such as access to Google Pay or Google Fit. You can also use the top button to press and hold it and you'll access Google Assistant, but it's not always the fastest operation. Fitness tracking is a little confusing. There are two ways you can track your fitness. There's the Google Fit suite of apps, or there's Mobvoj's own suite of apps. There's TicPulse, TicExercise, TicHealth, versus Google Fit, Fit Workout, and Fit Breathe. I've been using a mix of both services, and I like Google's apps for their designs. Mobvoj's apps look fine on the watch, but its mobile app is pretty dreadful. But they both capture similar data. There are benefits to using Mobvoj's apps though. TicPulse, for example, captures heart rate data much faster than Google Fit. It also works in essential mode. I also like using TicExercise because I think it presents the data a little better than Google Fit Workout. TicExercise also does a pretty good job of auto-pausing the workout when it detects that I haven't moved. The software is supposed to automatically track certain workouts, but I haven't really gotten this to work. It does give me activity reminders though when it recognizes that I've been too sedentary. So how accurate is it? I tested the TicWatch Pro next to the Apple Watch Series 4, and the data was very similar. Step count was only off by around 100 to 200 steps, with the Mobvoj presenting the higher number, and it also tended to overcompensate for distance traveled, but only by around 0.10 miles in a span of 2 miles. Heart rate data was also very similar across the board. On top of all that, you have onboard GPS, and TicExercise does a good job of showing you an accurate map of your run if that's something that you want. There's also NFC, which enables contactless payments for Google Pay. There's 4 gigs of internal storage for offline music playback, and there is IP68 water resistance, which means you can actually track your swimming through TicExercise. The TicWatch Pro 4G LTE is available from Amazon and Mobvoj's own website for $279. It's early adopter pricing, so it will cost $299 after August 10th, which is when LTE service will be available through Verizon. This first month, LTE service is not going to be available. That's why they have that promotional pricing. Remember, you have to pay a monthly fee to access cellular connectivity on a smartwatch. That can range from $10 to $20, so you really should give it some thought as to whether a cellular smartwatch is right for you.